Well, Winwood, Oklahoma's where we meet our Tiger King. He's got them monkey chimps and tiger cubs, the cutest thing you've seen. He's got all his meth head buddies, and they're all working for free, serving cheap Totino's pizza covered in rotten Walmart meat. Then, of course, there's old Doc Antle. The Tigers made him rich. And don't forget about Carol Baskins. Man, we fucking hate that bitch. We got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby.
All right, y'all. Here we are. Here we are at the end of quite a journey for the world, I think. And I don't know what all thoughting parts I keep thoughting parts. I keep wanting to say that parting thoughts I have on this whole thing, other than to say I'm kind of worried that from this point forward in my life, everything I ever watch will just be something that's not Tiger King.
I mean, I completely agree. Like, in the docu-series space, 100%. Like, I think that I'm just gonna have to. Like, I keep seeing a bunch of people, like, they'll put out these like articles. It's like, if you like Tiger King, you will also like this, which we pointed out. I think maybe one of the early episodes. Some of them are just like other docu-series on like tiger stuff, and it's like, that's not why we like Tiger King. But like, right. Either way, they're like, oh yeah, this shit is also crazy, and I'm like, no, it's not going to stack up. I'm going to have to go in a completely different direction. Like, I can't consume any more crazy docu-series because, like, I just went to WrestleMania.
Well, we mentioned on one of the earlier episodes too, or at least I did, and this is true for me. Also, like, I don't even this type of thing, because there's a bunch of these like docu-series out there. Most of them are like true crime, and technically this is true crime also, although I agree it's not the like true crime part of it. This is its own thing, but still technically, like true crime docu-series, you know, they exist, and they're very, very, very popular. Making a Murder and all that stuff. Like, people eat that shit up. My wife loves it. I've never liked them. It's never been my thing because they mostly like bum me out and stuff. Yeah. But this one, this like, I mean, goddamn, I just don't.
Well,
I don't know where you go from here.
Those are predicated almost always on either did or did they not do it,
right?
Or
a mystery.
How did they do it, and how did we catch them? And this is more of like, this show literally is, hey, come here. Look how wild this shit is.
Yeah. Yeah, but well done. Like, just so well done. Like, this to me is like, it sort of reminded me of S-Town in the way that, like, there was the reason the whole thing was set up is because there was supposedly a murder or whatever, but then you're not listening to it for that. And it's why, like, after I listened to S-Town, because I was like, well, I'm not into any more of this stuff because this was its own thing. It was kind of like a genre-bending. It's so wild to see a new thing, and we saw a new thing.
And DJ brought up off mic at one point earlier when we were in between guests. He asked if any of us had seen The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, because it does at face value, it seems to be a similar thing, because it's like, it's a documentary about white trash and crazy white trashness. But like we were talking about when we discussed it earlier, DJ, like, it also is different. It ain't like this, because like we were saying, it's like, it's this, but in a much more like sad, dark, heavy, fucked up way. It don't have the like raw entertainment value that this has. I can't think of anything that does.
No, see, and that was a lot of the, and you got to give them credit for being able to. You have to give credit to Joe Exotic for being able to put out this amount of good content with his show, regardless if he was singing or not, the videos.
Man, that's like, actually a good point.
You know what I mean?
It's a great point, and I think the only documentary that I think comes to comparison is the predecessor to The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. That's Jesco White's family, and there was a documentary about Jesco made in the late 80s, early 90s called The Dancing Outlaw Jesco White. And it's dark but entertaining. Right. Jesco is the only person I've ever seen who rivals Joe Exotic.
Yeah.
And the Wild and Wonderful Whites was done with like a woke lens a little bit.
Right.
You know, it had that flavor to it. Whereas Jesco it's super dark. There's a scene where he like tries to stab his wife, literally. But if you ask anyone who's seen that, they would laugh. Like if you go, "Have you seen The Dancing Outlaw?" People go, "I've seen it." And then they would laugh a couple more times and go down through it. And then by the third story, they would frown and go, "Yeah, he tried to stab his wife."
Yeah.
I want
Which
my
that's how
sloppy,
this
sloppy
is.
eggs.
What does wife do?
She fucked his eggs up, I think.
Yeah.
She just
I don't eat no sloppy, sloppy eggs.
he wanted scrambled and she just.
But that,
How
well,
many
that's like
times had she fucked up the eggs?
There's a YouTube.
I mean, on camera or in life, you know, we'll never
Okay.
know the answer to
okay.
the
But
laugh.
let me ask y'all this though. There's tons. I think it was it Tone? I can't remember. One of our guests, we've done this all in big chunks, and it's running together for me. But one of our guests brought up, they were talking about like Jerry Springer and shit like that, like white trash, you know, mess. Like, hey, look how crazy these fucking people are. Has been a thing for a very long time, right? And there's tons of examples of it. It's all out there. I have mostly always pretty much reviled it until this one. And I ask you, why? Is it the Tigers? What is it? Like, is it the production value? Like, is it just it's this perfect alchemy of everything that comes together to make this
Springer
transcend,
is
or
just the scene where Saf got the arm ripped off and Joe
Right.
Exotic's talking about dildos and shooting
Right.
at a fucking whatever.
Exploitation.
This is that plus backstory, plus mystery, plus the cops. Like it's just well done.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like the thing we don't talk about enough is like genuinely, it was regardless of what the content was, it was a fantastic documentary. The way that they were able, and even if they took I'm sure they took a bunch of liberties and they made it something that it wasn't at some point. But God damn it, they took all this raw footage, and these documentarians really did a great job. It was compelling. You were following 17 to 18 different storylines at one time. You were always enthralled with it. Again, like I said, I watched it in fucking one chunk. But like, it's not just honey boo boo, look at me, we're going to a goddamn pageant and my mama's wild. These people were wild, but with a purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't just like, I'd make go-go juice. Not, it's like, no, bitch, they tamed tigers.
And relatable in that situation.
You relatable?
Still, I mean, like, yeah, man, you know those people.
Oh, right, yes,
like,
absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? Not like you would.
I think another big factor with all that for me, we've asked a lot of our guests about how this reflects on us and how we should feel about it and stuff like that. And I think, and I'm not, some of our guests have brought up this same notion. I think what makes it different is that like you watch like a fucking daytime TV segment on some white trash family that's just lunatics, and you're just like laughing at or are entertained by how like sorry these people are, and all they're doing is doing drugs and fucking each other and like having kids with each other's fucking, you know, wives and shit like that. It's all just a bunch of it. It's just like, it just feels like it comes across as this is what these people are like, and isn't it ridiculous and entertaining? But with this, it's like, because it's fucking tigers and it's tiger people, it's like, it's so extreme, it's so wild, it's so out there. Do you know what I mean? That it makes it like feel different. It's like this isn't just laughing at like what poverty does to you.
Specific type of thing. Like, yeah, I mean, it's also like, as several people, including Sean, mentioned, it's like, look, those people are going to think what they're going to think, like pretty much regardless. It's kind of like how, like, when I saw the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, it didn't change how I felt about people on Wall Street. I done thought that shit. You know what I mean? So, like, what the fuck ever. That, if there was anybody on Wall Street, like, oh, God, this movie reflects poorly on us. I'm like, no, dude, that's what anyone that wasn't on Wall Street done thought y'all motherfuckers did anyway.
You ain't
yeah, right.
Also, other than the staff, who it actually made look good, none of those people were poor.
Right. Ran business.
That's why it's different.
And even though
that's what I'm saying. Like, buddy, if you got money and you choose to act like that, let the world laugh. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
that don't reflect on me. You know, it's like with Honey Boo Boo and with some of that other shit like Springer, it's like, you guys are just laughing at poverty. But here it's like, no, you're just, I
Right.
mean, you're laughing at mental illness, but it's very entertaining mental
It
illness.
also might be a good thing going forward that they've set this particular bar to where now when people meet just a regular person with an accent, they're like, you don't have a tiger, right? And you're like, no, hell no. They're like, okay, right on. Cool.
No, still right now at this moment though, if you were not at this moment because if you were in Las Vegas normally and you had tigers and everybody had seen this, you know, I guarantee you could still get a couple people up to your room with a tiger in a suit.
Oh yeah, once this pandemic is over, I think there's going to be an even bigger surge in like tiger sex
sales.
orgies and
Yeah.
suites.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, unless the goddamn Bureau of Investigating Tigers and shit steps up and does their job.
Fuck
Right,
yes, and I
right.
think yes, and that's why.
Okay, I want to be clear. I want them to do their job, but they should end with the orgies. Don't start with the orgies, man.
No, for
Right.
sure.
But I mean, at the end of the day, that's why I feel like the government is the worst piece of shit in this entire. That's the one thing that I can't. Like we can say everything we want to about the South or about tiger people or monkey people or anything. Look how our government operates. If this exposes anything, not only to the way that they do judicially, but how they even treat with the tigers and shit.
And
I want to be clear.
What are you doing?
Oh, sorry, I'm making mashed potatoes, boys.
Oh, dude,
You're making mashed potatoes.
you doing right?
Well, I've been
Chopping up a
muted.
can.
I forgot I was not muted anymore.
Yeah.
I unmuted to say I want to be clear. Throughout the
It is in a
series,
can.
me and DJ have argued about things in cans and libertarianism, but you are 100% right. I 100% agree with you. This reflects so many things, but number one, it's that all of our government institutions, whether it's the local sheriff, the feds, the state, the cop who helped his sister murder her husband, everybody's on some fuck shit.
Buddy, yeah, all the way up to that. Yes.
Let me ask y'all this though, like, because it's got brought up a few times, and okay, so it ends. The thing ends like we said at the end of episode 7. It like ends with all these like it's like a Sarah McLachlan montage about the plight of these tigers, as though like, look, the main takeaway from this is ostensibly that tigers and tiger breeding, this is a real issue and people should give a shit about it. But like, dude, I'm not gonna front. I don't feel like that's the main takeaway. How many times have I said we're forgetting about the tigers? Like
Absolutely.
that, dude, the tigers are not the main takeaway that people get from this goddamn thing. I don't care how the
And
series
anyone who
ends or
does,
whatever.
and anyone who took that takeaway wants a tiger now.
I mean,
This is going to cause more tiger shit.
I mean, putting
Probably.
it on there as a button at the very end. Maybe the attempt was to like, with the Big Cat Safety Act attempting to be passed, was to like remind everybody to be like, hey, by the way, when you go to vote on this or when you go to decide how you feel about it, remember what we've just shown you is the type of people who own these fucking things. So just throwing that out there, like obviously the whole takeaway from the thing wasn't the cats, but like just to remind you, look, this is who we're trying to get tigers taken away from.
It really upsets me that the government doesn't give more of a fuck than they do about motherfuckers just having that many goddamn tigers, man, and lions.
Don't make sense.
It don't make fucking
I mean,
sense.
that old boy in Ohio let his zoo out, and they didn't change no laws.
No.
It's
I mean,
fucking
Corey,
insane.
you said it in episode 1.
But we'll lock
This
you
is
up for
analogous.
a gun.
Corey said in episode 1, this is analogous to the gun debate. And he's proven more and more right as it's going along in my mind. Because, like, even then, it's like crazy shit happens. We don't change any laws. And the government just fucking turns their head and they pick on one dude to go after, but they don't actually cause any fucking what? They don't make any change, you know?
I know. The only way that we're going to get gun laws changed in this country is if they make a very hilarious 7-part documentary about mass murders. And good luck too. I know the crew. I know the crew to call. I'll tell you that much right now.
Very good point.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, before we get into our last round of guest interviews here, y'all got anything else you want to leave people with as we bring Tiger by the tail to the close?
Man, I genuinely, I don't mean this as a cop out. I got nothing. I'm so drained. Like that's how this has been an emotional experience for me. Like watching it was an emotional experience, and then working on this has been an emotional experience. That's also to your point earlier when you said you got to give it up for Joe Exotic with the amount of content that he's put out. This is the hardest I've ever worked in my whole life. And this week is the hardest I've ever worked in my whole life. And really all we've done is sat down every day for several hours and bullshitted about this and done research, and now I'm going to have to edit it. But that motherfucker, not only was he putting out a goddamn nightly show, not only was he fucking producing music videos and putting out all them goddamn chart toppers, he also ran a zoo. I'm not even having to run a zoo.
Yeah.
So
he ran for governor and president and goddamn.
My parting thoughts are like whatever you say about Joe Exotic, yeah, he's a piece of shit, but at least take his work ethic.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing about the entire Joe Exotic thing, and I think about it, I swear to God, I thought about it every day since I said it, was when Saf got her fucking arm chewed off. She just looked at the camera and said, well, it's just something that I can overcome. Like that's fucking that's such an amazing thing for somebody to say, and to hear somebody say something. I think it's just a testament to how great she is, and I hope she doesn't get overlooked by all the other stuff that person is
I hope
amazing.
I hope Saf's doing all right.
Yeah. You know what? On that note, like I think another thing people could take away from this is that our people as white trash Americans, like, you know, we're good for shit. You know what I mean? Like we're adaptable. We are an adaptable lot. Like, dude, you wouldn't think if you just polled your average person on the street, how well do you think white trash motherfucker would do at taking care of 200 tigers? They'd be like, probably not great, but Eric Cowie's got some shit to say about that guy.
Yeah, goddamn right.
Goddamn right.
Matter of fact, the only thing the white trash people failed at was murder. And if you ask people on the street, they would assume we'd be good at that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Flips
Well, my last thought or whatever is just that in the shit parade that reality television and the media and all that has become, and we're going to get into it, with some of our guests, at least it's getting more, what's the right word? Multifaceted. If I have to have Honey Boo Boo in my life, at least the new Honey Boo Boo, now I'm talking about Joe Exotic, it becomes 3-dimensional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly. You're right.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, hell, with that said, let's get into our last round of guests, and we got some great ones for y'all, some great shit still to come. These last few conversations, and then that'll be that. So, get us into it, Joe, and thank y'all for joining us on Tiger by the Tail.
Escalator.
All right, everybody. You know him as Johnny Burns in Deadwood, Trae Willis and Rectify, and most recently in one of my favorite shows that I think everybody should check out on Netflix. It is the, small screen adaptation of Get Shorty. We got Sean Bridgers, one of just the best actors out there and one of our best buddies, coming to us all the way from his home in North Carolina. Y'all enjoy it. Skew.
I'm all right. How are you guys doing?
Holding up well in the apocalypse.
Good to see you.
Hey, Sean. Yeah, good to see
man.
you too.
Hey, man. Look at that.
Yeah.
You got the green screen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you dig that? Yeah.
I look like I'm in hell. I'm looking at my light right here.
We got the green screen trashing it up for the occasion, doing our thing. So I'm assuming you're back home, right? You're in North Carolina, where you're at?
I'm at an undisclosed location somewhere in the mountains of North Carolina.
Yeah. Almost everywhere in the mountains of North Carolina is an undisclosed location, and for the people living there, they don't like to disclose the exact location.
That's true. I tell people, oh, you don't want to come where I live. It's terrible. You hate it.
Yeah, and it's beautiful and amazing is what it actually is.
So Sean, much like us, I assume that you have been just absolutely, utterly consumed with the Tiger King for the past week. Did you watch it all in one sitting, or were you somehow able to spread it out?
I did not spread it out. I watched the first episode like late at night. It was me and my wife and my kids, and we were just trying to find something, one of those deals. We just watched Starman, and then I'm just like looking for something, and I just saw the title, and I went, I hadn't heard of it, and I was like, yes, this is what I need. This is a documentary about that dude. Yep. And I watched the first episode and halfway through the second episode, and by that time it was 3:30 in the morning, and I couldn't stay awake. But the next day, I started at the beginning again, watched all of it, and I still kind of watch certain episodes every now and then, just because
like what the fuck,
I'm
yeah.
Like, no, what happened? Yeah, or like I'm trying to figure some shit out about it,
Was it like at all what you thought it was going to be going in? Like, because I went into it with this, like, all right, this is about to be some just fucking exploitative honey boo boo, like whatever the fuck shit. And I did not see that there was going to be not only one, but like 7 different compelling narrative stories throughout it. How'd you feel?
Yeah, I agreed. I mean, they did a brilliant job too of sort of sucking you in, because it did seem like it would be just entertaining, purely entertaining initially. And but that's what a documentary can do. You just follow it. And this is what's weird about them too, is how much being on camera like that and the world that got created in an already crazy world with cameras, because when cameras come, it changes things. It's like, that's why there's no such thing as reality TV, really, unless it's voyeur TV. It changes the chemistry inside you when you're being observed. And it kind of fed the whole thing. It's got to have fed the whole thing in a lot of ways.
Man, that's actually an interesting point you brought up that I hadn't even thought about, is how, like, when the cameras are on, you try to be like the most presentable of yourself, and like, so what the fuck are these people on when, like, what are they talking about when the cameras are on?
Right, but that's at first.
Right.
And then as you get comfortable with it, then it's that, like, well, let me show out a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, dude, just doing this podcast on this platform where I can see my face, I think has changed the way I interact with you guys, except for that one episode when I was on pills.
So you're from the rural South. Do you know, because I know that Trae has, like, not necessarily Joe Exotic. Trae has what Drew, I think, said was like Joe Exotic if he played in like AAA baseball. He's got like a wild monkey man type person living there. In the area you're living, is there any type of human being like this?
I don't know. I mean, the thing about Joe is he reminded me of about 4 or 5 different people. Right. You know what I mean? And he's all kind of put them into one. Like, it's interesting watching him, is just that how he's playing a character. That's getting back to the point, like you were saying, a camera's on you and it sort of makes you straighten up. And to Drew's point, what's his name? Kirkwood, or what? The guy who's shooting the documentary, what was his name? Rick. Yeah. He says at one point, once the cameras got on, remember he'd fire people at the morning meeting, and they cut to a clip of him saying, like, if you can't do it my way, you just get another job, right? So I don't even know that Joe Exotic is like Joe Exotic. You know what I mean? It's sort of, he's about 3 or 4 different people.
But did any of those people, you say, remind you 4 or 5 different people, did any of those people have monkeys or tigers?
No.
Because
that's why I was
the guy
wondering it.
Well, right. Well, the guy Corey was talking about, because, like, and honestly, I'm relieved that, because we've asked other people this question since we started this, and so far I'm the only one that has a Joe Exotic analog in my hometown, and I'm glad that is the case. But we did in Salina, we had Big Bob, and he was just big old gay feller that used to fuck around with like he would literally bring like Puerto Rican prostitutes to the high school ball games and stuff. And he also had a little like zoo, except it wasn't a zoo. You couldn't buy a ticket and go through it, but he had an animal like enclosure or an encampment down by the park with fucking everything from llamas and ostriches, whatever, to also he had zebras, kangaroos. He had some big cats in the back, but not tigers. He had like lynxes and shit. But he loved his monkey. And the audience has heard me say this multiple times, but I just can't not tell you, Sean, because it's so tragic. Just recently, earlier this very year, Big Bob had his monkey taken from him. He's currently locked in a brutal monkey custody dispute as we speak over Carlos the monkey. So the whole community's, on edge waiting to see how that turns out.
Sean, you know any good monkey lawyers?
Man, that's about my favorite character in the whole thing is that Tim guy. The guy running a track hoe with a monkey.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite moments in it, I'm sure I'd be curious if you can remember like the moments that you guys have that just sort of crack you, little things that just sort of I had to pause it because I'd laugh. And one of them was in the final episode, I think, and they're on Jeff Lowe, and it's when everything's gone to shit, and Jeff Lowe's gone down to the Texas border to build his huge super zoo. But that Tim guy from Ohio is doing all the work. And so they had a falling out, and it's just Tim on the phone with Jeff, and they just cut real quick, and you hear Tim go, "Fuck you, puss boy." And Jeff hangs up real quick. And it's just taking it. I had to pause and laugh for about 10 minutes about that. And just like, "Fuck you, puss boy." Because he was. Jeff Lowe didn't do shit.
No.
And that guy was running a backhoe with a monkey on his shoulder. That's about my favorite guy in the whole thing.
Yeah. He also said he had some words of wisdom in that same little sequence there, Sean, Tim Stark did, where he said, people talk about having, problems of having a monkey on your back. Well, what do? You put the monkey on your front and you got it took care of. Sit there with a monkey on his front. But so having Big Bob in my hometown or whatever have made a little bit of a different perspective for me. But like, did you have any kind of feelings whatsoever about like while watching this? Was any part of you like, oh well, this ain't making us look the best ever was? Like, did you feel like it like reflected upon us at all, or is it just like this is clearly its own thing?
Yeah, I never felt that, and we've had conversations about that. I'm pretty sensitive about it. You know what I mean? Right. Like if I feel like it's something exploitive, it's so extreme,
right?
That I don't. I mean, if people from wherever think that we're like that, then okay, fine.
Right.
Think that,
right.
And stay wherever you are. So no, I didn't get sensitive about it in that way. Yeah. But I do about stuff all the time. And no, it was just so bizarre. And everybody in it is kind of a sociopath. It's like there's what was in it, you got these serious friggin' sociopaths surrounded by some really decent people, like the people who work in that zoo. I love those people.
Yeah.
Like Safi, she gets her arm ripped off by a tiger. Oh my God. And Eric and Rinky, the guy with no legs. I freaking love all those people. And to me, those are the representatives of like people I grew up with on the whole, What's interesting is how good people can get abused and exploited by sociopaths. Charisma. It's just people who are so out there that being a
sociopaths. So right, and tigers. They got charisma, and I cannot stress enough, tigers. Like it keeps coming up, man. Yeah. Tigers have an effect on people, clearly.
I've been the worst, Sean. I keep forgetting about the tigers, and Trae keeps having to remind me, and he's right. Like, don't discount them. You do have to have charisma, but you got to have charisma to have the balls to even gather more than one tiger around you.
So you said that was it Tim you said was like your favorite dude, the monkey man? Well, on that note, who do you think? And this is pretty hard because you can make a strong case for about, I don't know, everyone in this goddamn show. Who is your least favorite motherfucker, or your Mount Rushmore of bags of shit if you want to rank them?
I mean, for me, man, Jeff Lowe. The second I saw Jeff Lowe, when he shows up, and they do such a brilliant job of it. About I think the last thing they say is like they thought he would be the savior. He would be, and then they cut our first introduction to Jeff Lowe is a white, like pearl white Hummer coming through the gate of the, you know what I mean? So as soon as I saw that, I was like, I hate this fucking guy. And then he's wearing those California fucking jeans and the fucking, I hate everything about him. Most other people, I kind of waxed and waned on how much I hated him. I never lost any for Jeff Lowe. No.
That's also our complete consensus as a group too. Was
I don't think
Jeff, for all the same reasons you
I didn't know we had a consensus on the hate. Is that accurate, boys? That's my least favorite. Is that fair for you and DJ, Corey?
For me, Jeff Lowe was definitely my least favorite because, like, I mean, I hated. No, okay, fuck. Now I've kind of flipped because, like, it was Jeff Lowe and then Carol. But then if I have to go, all right, but if you were faced with a situation where you had to party with one of them, I would party with Jeff Lowe just to see what it's about, and I wouldn't want to hang out with Carol. So I don't know, man. Like, it's hard to be a bigger bag of shit to me than, like, first off, I've never trusted any motherfucker who has buttons on the back pockets of their jeans. Never once. Like, if I ever see that, never once. Affliction shirts, immediate turn off. But I mean, goddamn, Carol, at least he was a little bit self-righteous too, but we keep coming back to, like, Carol's self-righteous like all that shit makes me hate her. But yeah, probably Jeff Lowe. I would punch him if I saw him.
I would say mine is the government.
Yeah, we didn't have a consensus at all, actually. I was wrong.
Yeah. Well,
that's the government.
And the government, then goddamn probably Jeff and then Carol.
Yeah, well, but Sean, let me ask you. We've asked most of our guests this. We all agree Jeff fucking sucks and is the worst. He's definitely mine. I think he's the biggest bag of shit in the whole thing for me, for sure. But the question is, if you were in Vegas already partying, already having a good time, and he walked up to you with his woman with him, and probably with a group of people also with him, and he showed you a picture and proved it, said, hey, we got baby tigers in the room we're about to go up there and party with. All these people are coming too. You want to come up there with us? What would you do? Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Dude, I could not do it. I'm not going to lie. I can't stand that guy, but dude, I ain't never going to get to fucking play with a baby tiger. Like, I couldn't not do it.
No. It's I remember when my niece, years ago, my niece and my daughter, who's now 20, so my niece is 22. So I guess probably 10 years ago or more, I took them to Cherokee one afternoon just to entertain them. I used to take them to, there used to be like a bear park, you know.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to that.
And buy some apples. Okay. Yep. So I went, and I kind of knew that it was shit. I mean, you get to a certain point, I did anyway, I got to a certain point in my life where I got past looking at like, well, that's awesome, look at that bear, to going like, man, that sucks for that bear.
Right.
You know, that bear is like, it's some cinder blocks between him and the fucking Great Smoky Mountains, and we're feeding him fucking lettuce and whatever. Well, but I took him anyway, and it happened to be that year, or that summer, they had a fucking tiger. And they had a tiger cub. And all I can say is my niece insisted and just bitched and screamed about it. So that there's a photo of me somewhere with my daughter and my niece, a baby tiger. And if I can pull it up, I'll send it to you. But I'm not happy. I was like, this is wrong. All of it. This is shitty. Maybe it's because it costs so much. I don't know. But I remember thinking that this is fucked up. Like what the fuck? Because you watch a tiger, and the tiger was in a small cage, And if you watch a tiger in a small cage, you can fucking feel it. It's like, that's the most miserable living organism I've ever been around. That is just, there's something wrong. That's the most awesome animal on the earth, and at least on land. And there's something fucked up about it. And that's, I think, part of this whole fucking appeal. You're right. It is about the tigers. And it's like, I don't know.
No, dude, look, here's the thing. Like, I agree with everything you just said. It is fucked up. It is wrong. I'm trash. And if I was drunk trash in Vegas and there was a baby tiger out there, I just wouldn't be able to resist it because they're just so awesome. I'm saying, like, I totally understand the allure that they have, but like, I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah. If you ask me, like, Drew, you don't have to pay for it. But when you get to Vegas, some dude's going to have a tiger there. I would be like, no, fuck that. But if I'm there and I'm drunk and it's like, we already got him upstairs. All you got to do is follow this apparently parade of hot bitches in Vegas dresses up the stairs to the room. I'd be like, where the line at? Is there a cover charge? Let me go hit the ATM. I'm there.
For our next guest, Trae had a pretty sweet idea. We're going to bring in Earl Brown, who is Sean's co-star on the show Deadwood. So we're going to have sort of like a little mini Deadwood reunion in here talking about Tiger King. You also may remember Earl from season 2 of True Detective, and also something about Mary and just a whole bunch of other stuff. He's a character actor extraordinaire. So now enjoy Earl Brown, everybody.
Well, dude, look at that. He's at the Gym Saloon. And here's the thing. This was meant to be a surprise for both of y'all. They didn't even know this. Earl still has the gym behind him. We're having a little impromptu Deadwood reunion here with Dan and Johnny, Sean Bridgers and Earl Brown at the same time. Although on my end, it looks like Sean is completely frozen up. What are y'all saying?
God damn it.
Yeah, he looks very frozen. Sean, can you hear us?
That's so appropriate.
We wanted to have this special moment.
God damn it.
And just like Deadwood, it ended too soon.
Too soon. Well, that sucks.
Oh man,
well, I don't know.
He's gone.
I know. But
sometimes
maybe, I don't know. Can you text him or something, Corey? Tell him to
I'll
maybe he can. Him. This is so Raven. Earl, we talked to you and Sean both about doing it, and wanted to talk to each of you individually, but we thought this would be a cool little thing to just do. And so, of course, all the best laid plans, Yeah. You even come in here with the goddamn gym behind you and everything. It was so set up.
That was coincidence, man.
I know it was.
My wife just showed me this morning where you have all those backgrounds.
Yeah.
And it popped up. Would you like a custom background? I thought, yeah. So
I'm saying it was all right there to be great. And then, of course, the gods of Wi-Fi and technology fucked us over. But while we see if we can get Sean back in here, Earl, how's it going?
As I've said to members of my family, this is not a hell of a whole lot different than my daily life is like outside of going to the gym a few times a week. I'm sitting around my house playing guitar, drawing pictures, reading, wasting a day. So for me, day-to-day existence, outside of having to gear up like I'm in some kind of post-apocalyptic goddamn movie to go to the grocery store.
Well, when it comes to wasting a day or wasting some time, where do you rank Tiger King on the list of ways to go about that?
Well, I watched it. God, it was less than a week. So we were early adapters. And I said it was like watching a goddamn train wreck or German Scheisse porn, absolutely disgusting, but you just can't take your eyes off of it. I go back with Joe Exotic. I remember seeing him on John Oliver's show. That was 2 years ago, or whenever he ran for president. So I was aware of the travails of the Tiger King before Netflix. So I found Crypt King to be a great antidote.
We have Sean back, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Sean, you back with us?
Hello, gentlemen. Hey, Earl, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, look where I'm at.
Oh, looky there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. In black
Yeah.
and white.
I said to Earl, Sean, we tried to do this little impromptu Deadwood reunion on here, and he pops up with the gym behind him and everything. But at that exact moment is when we lost you to technical difficulties. So it's appropriate how that worked out. But we just thought it'd be cool to have the two of y'all on here to talk Tigers.
If there's anybody can fuck the ringing up of a bell, it's goddamn Johnny.
Hey, Earl, right before you joined, the last thing we were talking to Sean about, so I want to go ahead and get your take on it. And let's say you were in Las Vegas and you were partying already, and you were already, getting fucked up and everything, and some very clearly a douchebag walks up to you with his old lady and probably some other party type people there, and they show you pictures like, hey, we got these little baby tigers in our room, we're all going to go up there and play with them. What do you think about that? What would you do?
Well, that actually kind of happened. Sean and I, we had a Deadwood thing that HBO flew us to in Vegas, and that I don't know if they had any big cats, but the invitation to party, I said no, thank you, no thanks.
Yeah, see, you and Sean, like y'all are just better men than I am.
Yeah, older and wiser, man.
Wait. They might be, but Earl, didn't you just say they didn't have big cats?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if they had big cats, but there was a certain invitation. You remember what I'm talking about, Sean?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
Are y'all talking about swinging?
He got me afterward in the hall. He goes, man, you ain't gonna believe what shit just happened.
Well, wait. Well, what did they have? Or yeah, is that what we're talking about? We're talking about swinging.
It was just an invitation for someone to observe.
Yes.
Okay.
A husband to
were
observe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fans, big Deadwood fans.
Yeah, big Deadwood.
That kind of happened. That actually happened to me and Drew after one of our shows in L.A. after we did the Ice House in Pasadena.
I was there too, but I didn't get the invitation. I would like
That's
that.
true. He was standing right beside us in the night.
We don't want the fat boy to see us fuck. Get on somewhere.
But yeah, this swingers. Although Drew, I don't.
We
wasn't
said
to
no.
observe. I don't.
No. But we said no. But if they'd have had a tiger,
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
That's another thing.
I'd at least showed up at the door.
That's another thing is that y'all said no, and they didn't even think to bring me in as a relief pitcher. Like I wasn't even fucking second draft.
Hey Earl, did
I think we said, well, we'll take your card. We got stuff, there's probably, we gotta, all right, see you guys later. That's what we said.
Hey Earl, did you have because Earl's from Murray, Kentucky. Did you have any kind of crazy ass animal people or animal shit where you grew up? Was there any kind of Joe Exotic light or anything anywhere around there?
I mean, there were the snake and reptile guys.
Right.
I don't remember anybody having any big cats. I remember someone having a wildcat that they had trapped and made a pet out of. But that's
according to this documentary, like a wildcat or a bobcat is like a gateway cat to the big cats, because that's where a lot of them started, Yeah. No, because I did in Salina, there was one, and I'm glad to hear that it wasn't as prevalent as all that, but we did have that type of thing going on. Shit, what was I about to say? Oh, who did y'all? We were talking. What's crazy is the most seemingly normal guy in this whole thing was the mass murdering basis for Scarface, the drug trafficker in Miami or whatever, right? Am I wrong? He seemed like the most normal dude, and he's sitting there casually talking about when that federal agent was dismembered in his presence.
Right. That's true.
And then you got shit like Carol's husband being her slave on a leash in their wedding pictures. And it's like, you don't even remember shit like that hardly by the time this is done. It don't even register with how crazy the rest of it is.
I got a theory that Joe Exotic would have been fine and still running his zoo in Wynnewood, Oklahoma, if he had, met and fallen in love with Howard Baskin. Because he's who made this thing work for her. That's the problem. Is he's one of those gay guys who only goes for the hot 19-year-olds, right? He couldn't find an age appropriate accountant kind of dude. He would have been fine, but he picked the wrong husband. He only went for idiots.
An age appropriate accountant type.
Because Howard Baskin's who took him down. It was that dude.
You're right. You're right, actually. Yeah.
Because Carol's too emotional or whatever. I don't think she would have had the focus. That dude was like the nerd who never got any in high school, and then he met her and she was beautiful when they were first married, right? And he was like, I'm the luckiest dude in the world. And I think he made it all come about because that was a determined guy. Like, remember how many friggin' he shows all the paperwork he's got on Joe Exotic, and it's like however many of those file cabinets.
Yeah, no, you're right. Maybe Harold is the mastermind behind this whole thing. Who knows? Do y'all think that Jeff Lowe is going to ever get any comeuppance from any of this? Do you think he should?
Yeah. I think it was all just a parade of sociopaths.
Right.
I'm not team any of them. I think they're all not good people who saw reflected in the others all the horrible and vile things about themselves, hence their intense hatred of the other. So, but that's just right.
What do you think, Sean?
I got a question for the group.
Yeah.
And this just sort of occurred to me just watching it through again. A guy that we haven't talked about who I think is interesting is James Garretson. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Big boy?
Yeah.
And, there's at a certain point, where he starts working for the feds because he's got an illegal when in his shop. One of my favorite things, another thing that cracks me up, like I had to pause and laugh to myself and nobody else thought was funny, is when they go into his shop, which looks like everything in there's stolen, doesn't it? Like there's
it looks like he just rented out a pawn shop to have office space and then didn't get rid of any of the stuff.
So the guy comes in with his, kind of shitty hidden camera, right? Probably in his glasses, right, or whatever. And James is just sitting there, his belly rolled over, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Just grinding away, just grind." I'm like, "You're not grinding. That motherfucker's never grinded anything in his life, that dude. I can't stand him either." But this is my question. So he works for the feds because he's got faulty paperwork on his lemur, and then he tells Jeff Lowe that he's working for the feds. Can you do that? Like, maybe I've just watched too many movies, but it's like if you're an informant, you can't tell anybody, right?
You're not supposed to brag about it.
Somebody else in the investigation. And then that kind of went away. Maybe I'm wrong, but that just kind of went away. They never mentioned that.
It seemed to me like Jeff was also very much an active participant in it. And would that make a difference? I mean, I don't know. Drew, you're the lawyer.
I'm saying initially Jeff didn't know anything about the investigation.
Do not forget.
He became active participant.
Well, do not forget
Go ahead, Drew.
that Jeff Lowe took a phone call in the middle of an interview before all that. And it was the feds. Also, don't forget that when Jeff Lowe went to the bank, someone there told him the feds were investigating.
I didn't believe any of that. Did you believe that when he said that?
Well, whether I believe it or not, my point, I guess, is that Jeff Lowe wanted to get the feds involved because he saw it as an opportunity to get rid of Joe Exotic so that he could take his zoo. So can you tell the feds? I don't know if you can tell them or not, but as far as the feds go, if another dude shows up and says, I can be helpful too, here's how, and he proves to be helpful, you're not going to turn him down. You know what I mean? And I've never dealt with the feds. I've dealt with CIs a lot, and absolutely CIs get their buddies involved in being CIs. I mean, it's a good way for a low-level crackhead, and this is a different thing, but it's a good way for a low-level crackhead to make crack money. So, of course, they tell their buddies, hey, all you got to do is pop a few people, and then they'll give you $200, and they won't arrest you for smoking the crack.
That's
Okay.
just how real James was with the snitch game.
Yeah.
He was gonna tell on himself. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
snitching on
Like,
himself.
he gonna tell on everybody.
Hey, I got a question for you two fellers, Earl and Sean. What do you think Al Swearingen would have thought about, like, if Wood shown up with some tigers, like to hook Al up with some tigers in the gym? Or how you think he would have felt about that? And, you know, what would y'all have had to do with it?
He had called it a specialty act and charged an extra fee.
Yeah.
I don't know.
John,
I would have. Johnny probably would have died if he had a tiger.
yeah. I was going to ask what you thought Johnny's, how
Not
Johnny would have
before
handled the tiger game.
feeding some people to the tiger. I'm sure that would
No.
happen too.
Johnny would have been the staff of Deadwood. He would have been the one who had his hand bit off, and the only kid
Right.
from the whole bunch.
Swingen,
Yeah.
Jeff Lewis, cocksucker.
Hey, speaking of Saf, like real ride or die, right? Talking about she loses her arm, and like, well, if I didn't go back to work there, then the media wins. You know,
Yeah, the media.
the media wins.
Well, you know, I think all those people. I think the staff at that place, like the Eric dude, that was one of my favorite scenes too. Was after he testified, how they went back to his place and he was just fucking hammered drunk, and they kept the camera rolling.
Yeah,
you remember that?
Yeah,
it's just a very brief thing, and I was like, that shit's real. You know, I mean, that was real. A lot of
right. Well, Cowie,
but
Eric Cowie, there, like he gives a shit, right? Like that's what you're saying.
Man.
Like he really does give a shit about those animals and that whole thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing about the Saf or Safi or whatever her name is. There's no question that they did. And we keep saying it keeps coming back to the tigers. It's like they friggin' love those animals. And it was like a menagerie of sort of people on the fringes, and they kind of had this thing that they shared, and they loved it. And Joe probably did too at first. I mean, he says taking care of animals saved him, right? After he had his car wreck. So it's really about how fucked up shit gets, you know? That's everybody, with the exception of Jeff Lowe, has some things about them that I can go like, okay, I can see at least kind of why you're fucked up. Maybe Jeff Lowe has that too, but we didn't get into it. But
it's kind of like Grizzly Man, you know, the film from a decade or so.
Yeah.
Watching this slow descent into the more attention he got.
Yeah.
Like actually the interaction with the animals actually soothed a broken spirit.
Yeah.
You know, it was probably genuine, but then his ego starts getting fed by all of the attention he's getting because of it.
Yeah.
And it's a slow descent into fucking madness.
Yeah. Yeah. Shit happens. Yeah.
Do y'all think that Joe was in any way being any kind of fucked over at the end of this thing? Like, you know, with the whole Carol deal and all that, like how much of a patsy was he in it versus how much like, oh no, he's at the center of this thing? Because that's a discussion we've had on here between the four of us. So.
Well, is the question you're asking, Trae, seems to me, is do I think he paid Alan, whatever his name is, $3,000 to go kill Carol? I don't know. I don't know if he did. Because I could see him paying him $3,000 just to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to go home, right? And
well, I don't know. To make well, no, I guess also we were talking like, and Drew had said, and I agree with him. Like, I think that to me, it seemed like what I think happened is I think that Joe probably did most of that shit they said he did where Carol is concerned. But I think that what also happened is that Jeff Lowe came in, had a Joe Exotic problem, you know, like wanted a way to get rid of him, and kind of hatched this scheme in my mind of like, this guy wants this lady dead, and I think I can facilitate that while fucking him over and keeping myself out of it, or something to that effect.
Or he might not have even thought it through that much and just sort of, I don't even know if he's smart enough to think it through. I think he's just every step, a person like Jeff Lowe is thinking how can I make this work for me?
Right.
Every step. And Joe, one of the reasons he's so charismatic and entertaining is that he's so fucking wide open, right? We don't know shit about Jeff Lowe because that's the only thing about him that is smart, is that he keeps his mouth shut. It seems like, right? And that's why I think, like, I'm not sure about the whole phone call thing with, I was talking to the feds. Some woman at the bank said something. I go to the bank all, they don't, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Do you think?
But
no, go ahead.
I don't know. No, I just don't know. I'm still sort of back and forth about whether or not Joe really sent somebody out to kill Carol. I'm not completely convinced. I don't know. Because he just runs his mouth so much, and you know what I mean. It's like it's hard to really, but by running his mouth so much, it was like impossible not to convict him of it.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He didn't do himself any favors for sure. But let me ask y'all, as longtime actors and creators, creative types in the world of visual media, telling stories and whatnot, what do y'all think about a lot of the decisions that were made in the interview scenes, were like how people were like, Saf is literally in a junkyard, right? And you got, but the most egregious one, it to me far and away, is in episode 7 when would-be hitman Alan just starts taking a bath in the middle of his interview and is just in the bathtub while being interviewed. And in any of those instances, none of that is ever at all addressed in any way. And like, and Joe, one of Joe's husbands, John, being shirtless for all his interviews and shit. Like, I don't know, how contrived do you think all that type of shit was creatively? What do y'all think about that?
Well, it's been said so far that John has complained about the fact that they made him take out he had some implants or whatever. So they made, because it's one of the best moments in the whole thing is when the sheriff is talking about meth for some reason. Just stays in your mouth, and then cut to perfect shot of John. Right. So the filmmakers were very, very clever about. I didn't even think about the Safi thing though. That's really interesting. Now that you mention it, why was she? Yeah,
just sitting in a junkyard.
I mean, getting in the bath. Maybe part of that is that he's like cleansed himself of all crime or wrongdoing.
Conscious pilot asking for the water bottle at the end.
I don't know. I think it was a bit manipulative. I don't think. I read somewhere that Carol Baskin herself thought that the documentary was going to be like Blackfish. That the point of the documentary was going to be truly pointing out how shitty this is to do this to these animals. And
okay,
I'm sure she's pretty surprised.
Right. Okay. Actually, I want to circle back to that, but first, Earl, what do you think about the other question about the director and the role they played and how all that kind of came across in those instances?
Well, the contrivance of so many of those situations, it seemed absolutely production designed and planned.
Right.
The shirtless guy, one thing that he seemed proud of his tattoos, so he wanted to show off his ink. But the fact that he has one tooth in his head, I didn't know he had dental implants. If that is true, and they ask him to take it out, well, that tells you something. We're telling a story about nutty hillbillies, and so we got to make them appear nutty hillbillies.
Do you think? Do you think that's
on that?
How fair is that? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that just generally, again, as creatives yourselves, like, is that above board to do that? Like,
it has been the thing on social media everywhere for the past fucking month. It's what our politics have devolved to. I fucking love wrestling. I love WWE. AEW is my favorite, that I've been watching recently. But I grew up loving wrestling. But I recognize that it's a play. It's show business. That's what it is. Well, now our reality, and unfortunately our cultural world, our political world, has taken on all of that contrivance. Whatever draws the most eyeballs, whatever gets the most people talking about it, then that's what we do. Truth be damned. Competency be damned. Let's just tell a fascinating, weird story and draw attention to it. So
Yeah.
that's what it is. That's why I said Crip Camp was such an antidote, because I watched it. We watched it in 3 nights. I think we went through Tiger King. And then just about 3 or 4 days ago, I stumbled on Crip Camp. You know, it's the exact opposite. There ain't nothing contrived about that. And it's a phenomenal film about, you know, the human spirit and compassion and how the world can be changed for the better. And I don't think
Yeah, boo, that's boring. Fuck that shit.
That sounds boring. Didn't Obama produce that? Ain't no way I'm gonna watch that.
In all seriousness, I mean,
Why
hey, I
do you
will
hate
watch
America,
that.
Earl?
But I want to say something about the contrived thing, and this is just like an interesting tidbit to me. So Saf is trans and prefers to go by he. Now you didn't know that because they call him a she the whole documentary, except when he gets his arm ripped off, and you hear Joe talking to the ambulance, and the people are calling the cops. They're not misgendering him in that moment. And it's like, and that's like a small thing. It doesn't prove that these hillbillies are super woke. I mean, obviously they're literally toothless meth addicts. But it did like strike me as like you guys were trying very hard to make everyone shirtless and toothless. But there's this one little thing that like you guys fucked up as the filmmakers, and these hillbillies got right.
Well, they also did not mention in the film at all that that's not him singing. That's not his music. He wrote lyrics and sent them away to a producer and paid to have them create songs based on his lyrics. You know, he's just mimicking them in the music video.
Okay, see, you said that he wrote lyrics and sent them away. We've talked about this a little bit so far in the series. There's been like different versions of it put out there, and from everything from like it's just a band, but it's his songs. He sings them to he ain't singing or playing none of it. He didn't write none of it. And with all that, I was like, he surely at least wrote some of it, right? Right, just based on what the content was. But so he's not.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just
yeah.
I know people who have done that, who played on those kind of songs where people will pay, you know, $1,000 to have their dumb poem turned into a country song.
Right.
So that's supposition on my part. I don't know what part of it he had to.
Yeah.
That he was creative, or what part that someone else created. I don't know. I just know that it was presented like, oh, that dude can kind of sing, man. He really can. And that's not true.
Right. Well, so on the subject of how fair is this? Right. No, go ahead, Sean.
I was just going to say, not only can he sing, he's a terrible lip syncer.
Right.
He can't even lip sync worth of shit in videos.
He ain't no Milli Vanilli, I tell you that.
What now?
He ain't no Milli Vanilli, I tell you that much.
Yeah, I've nicknamed him Pilly Vanilli.
Pilly Vanilli.
Pilly.
But you got to say, though, at the end of the day, the video's hit.
Yeah. So, all right. On the note of like, how fair is it, right, for them to be presented this way, for his narrative to be presented and whatever else? Sean brought up Carol and said that Carol says that, you know, she thought this was going to be like a Blackfish type of thing. And like you said, I'm sure she is very surprised. She comes across, I feel like, to most people is pretty self-righteous and hypocritical and not that much better about this whole, enterprise than her enemies are. And she, I'm sure, sat down with talking to them, expecting to be the hero of a Blackfish-style documentary, and it didn't work out that way. And how fair is that, in y'all's opinion, to her?
Oh, man. Fair is not a word I use very often, but
Right.
I've been an actor for 30 years, so I don't know, man. I think the guy the whole thing's so crazy that they just rolled with it. There's no way this guy had any idea, the filmmaker had any idea what this was going to turn out to be. You can't.
Right.
You know, it started off because he saw a snow leopard in a van in Florida, right? He's like, what the fuck is this? And then he got into this world where one of the first guys who doesn't show back up, he goes, these big cat people are crazy. They're fucking, and you got to, I mean, that's the apex predator right behind you.
Yeah.
Right? And people who want to control and tame and hoard them, there's something off, right? And we just got into the world of like predators. I mean, Earl said it, sociopaths and predators, and they all play their game different, and we got to observe it. And and then intermixed with it is all these like actually decent people that you can be like, yeah, I know that guy. I know that guy, but
well, I mean, I feel like, and yet we all got the story that we were given, but I mean, we said from the beginning when we started this series in episode 1, like I genuinely, from the moment Carol showed up and it showed Big Cat Rescue and her operation and what she runs, before they even got into the like gory details of it, when it just first came up, I immediately in my head was like, okay, I don't see how this is all that much different, from the beginning. So like I said, how fair is it? My answer is I think it's at least a little bit fair that she came across that way.
No. I think she came across as who she is.
Right.
I don't think there's any question about it. I don't mean that. I didn't mean that. I just meant, the difference between her, the whole thing has to do with breeding cats. And, the issue is there's 10,000 in America and there's 4,000 in the wild, and like, that is an issue and can potentially be a big problem at some point. But I think that she's sincere about that. If she's not lying when she said that her deceased husband, what was his name? Don Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Don Lewis. That when he would leave town, she would get fed over there to neuter them all. Right? I mean, unless she's lying about that, but. That's what this is all about, right? Is the idea of breeding these cats that you can't do anything with except sticking a cage somewhere. And I think she's sincere about that. I think she's damaged. I mean, very early on, she said she got raped at knife point 14 years old. Well, I've got a 14-year-old. That'll fuck you up forever, right? And it can make you become a person who gets to a certain point in your life where you go like, you know what? I'm owed a little something. And I'll do whatever I need to do to get it, right? And I don't think there's any question she did that. I don't think anybody. Yeah. It's hard to doubt that,
I agree with you.
So I don't know, man.
Earl.
That's what I like about the whole thing is whoever they got into is kind of like fucking fascinating.
Right.
Train wreck.
Earl, you got any thoughts on all that? The whole Carol of it and everything?
Well, it just goes back to what I said earlier with the sociopathy of it. Of those broken parts of themselves, and this goes back to what Sean said earlier, and we're talking about Grizzly Man, those broken parts, they found somewhat salved by interaction with the big cats. Well, those broken parts of themselves are the parts of themselves they hate. It makes them weak, and it's their pain. Well, when you see it reflected in somebody else, it's really easy to project it onto, because, again, they're all the same. That was one interesting cut. It was cool in the edit of the thing is where her voiceover, where she's talking about he uses the cats to make money. He and then it cuts to her place with the long line of people waiting to pay their fee to walk through her.
Oh yeah.
Lack of self-realization on all of their parts. So the parts of themselves that they hate or feel weak about, they can project on somebody else. And it's easy to do because that other person has the exact same issues as you. So,
I mean, very well said. I think we're probably about to wrap her up here, fellas. Corey, Drew, DJ, before we do, did y'all have anything you were wanting to ask these fine gentlemen?
No, I mean, I think we've covered it all, and I can't add anything better than what Earl and Sean just waxed poetic about, especially on Carol.
All right. Well, with that said, Earl or Sean, either one of y'all have any parting thoughts for us?
No, we'll see when the post-apocalypse ends.
Yeah. All right. Well, hell of a job, fellas. Thank you so much for doing this with us. We appreciate it. It's great to see both of you, and I can't wait till, the world is reborn and we can all hang out again.
Me too, brother.
Yeah, I was about to say, boys, I hope the next time I see you is maybe not over the goddamn computer.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Sean Bridgers, W. Earl Brown, everyone. Thank y'all very much, fellas. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Next up on Tiger by the Tail, we have one of the best comedians working the country today. And that's not my opinion, that is just a fact. Roy Wood Jr., everybody, from The Daily Show, and This Is Not Happening. Enjoy!
Here's the one takeaway I hope everybody takes away from the Tiger King, is that there is no money in exotic animals.
Clearly.
There's no, like,
Fucking goats, right, Roy?
bro, I would argue that there is more money in goldfish than tigers. Petco is a fucking conglomerate corporation. They have a ballpark named after them in San Diego, from just selling snack food to domesticated pets. There's no tiger food in Petco. There's no fucking iguana food and fucking, what was some of the, like, it was all types of just weird shit in there.
A lemur.
I think that documentary exposes our fascination with charismatic hillbillies.
Well, thank God for that.
We've always had that obsession with charismatic oddballs, especially
Yeah.
Southerners. I will say that I was thrilled to find out that most of this shit was going down in Oklahoma.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Preach.
The Midwest has got to take that body.
Right.
I was so upset he had the Southern Oklahoma accent and not the Midwest Oklahoma accent. I was like, man, if he just enunciated words that ended in ing, it would be fine.
Yeah. I also love that the other half of the story unfolded in Tampa, which was like Miami's meth addicted younger brother.
Right.
I get why people love it because it's just such a drama filled story, but I just feel like at his core, the dude was a dick to a lot of people. And
Yeah.
you know what? I'm not sad that he's in jail. I don't know the details of his case, but when they dig up, what was it, like 14 tiger bodies?
Yeah.
Or some shit. Come on, man. Like even if you did euthanize him as you claim, you just throwing bodies on top of bodies like that. Like you just don't do people like that. And shame on the people that go and like actually fall for Carol's bullshit too, because she's just as guilty as he is. Now, there's no money. Yeah. There's no money in exotic animals, but there is money in making your rich husband disappear.
Always.
A lot of money in that.
A lot of money in that.
I would encourage anybody to look into that.
Hell yeah. Roy Wood Jr., everybody. Thank you so much, Roy. It's been a pleasure. Good to see you.
Appreciate you, Roy.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
All right,
peace. Baby. Keep your sanity.
Yeah, I'll try.
See you, brother.
Last but not least here on Tiger King. Pretty sure you mean Tiger by the Tail, you dumb fuck. We've got one of our best good buddies, one of the best singer-songwriters in the country. You know him as the front man from American Aquarium, and I mean also our podcast, but mainly as the front man for American Aquarium. It's BJ Barham, everybody, and this is going to round out the guest on Tiger by the Tail. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We've really enjoyed doing it. But before that, enjoy BJ Barham. I can't believe we got him either.
There we go. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. What's up, man?
My man.
What's up? Oh, there we go. Now I've got you guys all four. I mean,
Yeah.
4 boxes now. I feel good about it.
Yeah.
What's
Fucking
up,
A.
dude?
Not much. Hey, everybody, look who it is. Friend of the Well Read podcast and singer-songwriter frontman extraordinaire, BJ Barham, everybody. Raleigh, North Carolina. What's going on, dog?
What's going on, man? How are y'all?
Good.
Good, man.
How you hanging in there?
Same as everybody else, just fucking at home and starting to get stir crazy and doing a lot of fucking projects for the wife. But other than that,
I'm enjoying your covers.
Growing this sweet ass mustache.
Mm-hmm.
Looks
Damn
good,
right
dude.
you are. Yeah, like Drew said, BJ's got a little quarantine series going on with covers he's doing on his social media that you should definitely check out.
I can't believe you have to defend Counting Crows. I didn't know that was a band people had to defend.
Oh, that's a big deal. Like a lot of hipsters will tell you that like they're a shitty band, and I'll die on that fucking hill. I'll die on that hill that the Counting Crows are fantastic.
You'll die on Hillside Manor. That's where you'll die, baby.
BJ, you want to know how long this quarantine's been going on? You are the last human being that I had a conversation with outside of my house. our conversation in your van before I went to the airport is right before lockdown happened. You're the only person I've talked to on the outside.
I told Drew that like y'all were the last time I got to eat in a restaurant.
Yeah,
Hanging out
likewise.
with you guys the last time.
Yeah, man. What was
That was
shout it
definitely a
out?
good last restaurant to go to. I ain't gonna lie, Cooper.
Shout it out.
Clyde Cooper's Barbecue, Raleigh, North Carolina, holding it down. Last meal that I had outside my house. So shout out to old Clyde Cooper's here in Raleigh.
Fucking A. Well, hey man, how did you find out about the Tiger King? How did it come into? Were you early? Did you get on the ground floor of this Tiger King shit, or?
I think I was on the ground floor. My inner redneck led me to click on the recommended Netflix. It was like, hey, if you like ridiculous redneckery, click Tiger King. And so me and my wife clicked it, and it was like you watch the minute-long trailer, and I was like, I'm related to this person. I guarantee I'm related to this person.
Right.
So we got like 5 episodes in, and my wife's like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I was like, we haven't even got to the part where he like plots to kill somebody. Like, this is just the lead up to his ridiculous life. So I think it came out on a Friday, and I put the cover up on Sunday, and then and I was like, there's probably like 10 of my friends that'll think this is funny, and then it got 100,000 views in the first 24 hours. I was like, oh, okay, this is a bigger cultural phenomenon than I thought it was.
Well,
and so now if you type in Tiger King, I saw a tiger, the original version comes up, and I'm the second thing that Google tells you to watch.
My man.
Oh, there's so many people who come to like the page and be like, oh wait, this guy's like a real singer. He's like has a band.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I just have nothing better to do than because me and my wife, like, I don't know about you guys, but like second episode of this show, my wife looks at me, she's like, the songs are pretty good.
Yeah, that keeps coming up. Yeah, dude, Here Kitty Kitty and I Saw a Tiger, those are jams, man. You know,
dude. When I heard Here's Kitty Kitty, I was like, if these songs didn't mention the Tiger Holocaust, they could have been a B-side on like a Garth Brooks record, easily.
Yeah, the whole documentary is a pretty tremendous electronic press kit for Joe Exotic.
Well, hey, but BJ, do you know the whole deal of the background behind the music, the songs, and everything? Have you heard about all that?
Yeah, I read Vanity Fair did like a big piece on them, and there's a guy who sings all the songs, and there's a guy who writes all the music and writes all the songs, and Joe Exotic basically just lip synced all the videos and paid these guys a lot of money to keep their fucking mouth shut.
So he didn't. We were trying to figure. We weren't sure.
Well,
it seems to me like, how did he not? It just feels like he had some creative input because of the content of the goddamn song. You know what I mean? Like all this Tiger shit. Like
I already gave him direction, and I also read BJ. And tell me if this is a thing at all, even possible, that he like played the tracks in his studio and then sang over them, and then then they put those in the background so that he could honestly say, "I sang on that."
Yeah, I think he like sang, and then they just buried his vocals behind.
So you can do that.
The lead vocals, and yeah, it's sketchy as fuck, and it's not really him singing. But yeah, I heard the same thing. I heard that he like basically it's like a co-write. He told them a story and was like, I want y'all to write a song about this bitch Carol Baskins. And like she fed like and because you could tell it's like a paint by numbers song. It's like it hit like the 6 points that he probably had in emails. Like, we need to mention a Tiger Refuge, go to Tampa. We need to mention Don's name, Carol's name, and about how all that's left is Tiger shit, so I can rub some shit in my hands on the camera.
It's also great. You can just imagine those red dirt country type guys at Oklahoma. A lot of them old heads, it's like, hey, we need to do a song about this bitch I hate. It's like, well, buddy, I got 9 of those already written. We just need to change the name.
You pull down the binder of just bangers and you just flip through it, and you're just like, which one you want, man? You want a murder ballad? You want an upbeat bop? You know,
I just imagine
in there. All right, That's fine. Yeah.
Just go to the
My
B and
fa- my-
pitch Rolodex.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part about doing them though was like the 15 to 20 outtakes of me trying to keep a straight face. Like the first 20 are like me, like I was Jimmy Fallon on Saturday Night Live. I just couldn't make it through like 3 lines without fucking like trying to say the Tiger Holocaust and keeping like a straight like face and be serious. Like there's so many of like outtakes of me playing it and getting all the way through it and then being like, think about what we lost in the Tiger Holocaust. I'm like, oh fuck. Guess I got to go back and do this one again.
Such a good line.
It's poetry if you think about it.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned earlier, you saw it, it got recommended. You said you're 10 minutes into it. And you're like, I might be related to this fucking guy. You said it called out to your inner redneck, right? And we all obviously relate to that. And we've talked a little bit on the earlier episodes of this about how to feel about how this reflects upon, just redneckery in general. Like, obviously, did any of that occur to you? How much of a shit about that do you give? How much of that do you think happened as far as, this set us back? Like, how you feel about that?
The only people that think that Southerners are like that are the same ones that think we're all toothless, inbred rednecks that fuck our cousins. Like, they already have that preconceived notion of what Southerners are. Right. So if anybody that's watching The Tiger King, which is like really and truly, it's the worst of the worst. If somebody's watching that, be like, man, I bet you that's how everybody in Oklahoma is. They were never going to have their mind changed about Southern folks in general.
Yep.
I tried to tell people, I'm like, every single town in the South has a Joe Exotic. He might not be a gay Second Amendment preaching tiger trainer, but there's that one guy in every town. He's usually the fucking mayor who wants to keep his name in people's mouths. So he does these crazy fucking things. It's either the used car salesman or the mayor. And he's this ridiculous local townie. It just so happened that this guy got a Netflix 7-series documentary made about it.
Ours was fuzzy orange, and the Knoxville paper drove out there to do a story on him. And then it was like, that's his real name. And it was like, no, it's not. His fucking name ain't Fuzzy Orange. He changed it legally.
Having to explain that to somebody is funny. Excuse me, journalist. That's not his real name.
No, it is. I saw his license. Well, we know how courthouses work. Our people have to go there all the time.
Man, it's so funny. It's like Joe Exotic. It's like, that's not his real name. But so many people are like, man, the crazy part is like this series got him everything he wanted before he went to jail. Like he's famous. Like he could rerun for governor of Oklahoma right now. And I guarantee you in a landslide, he would be the governor of Oklahoma.
That's funny. Did you have where you grew up in North Carolina, did y'all have any wild ass animal people specifically? Because the Joe Exotic in my hometown was also a gay animal lunatic who had like a zoo and like I keep calling it a zoo because I don't know what else to call it. But for the record, to y'all too, because I've brought him up multiple times, Big Bob, you couldn't he didn't sell tickets. You couldn't go there. You just had to stand on the other side of the fence and try to catch a glimpse of the zebra on the other side of the field or whatever. But did y'all have any like that?
I had a cousin who bred emus. Yeah. and you could go and pet and I'm talking about 40 fucking emus like in the middle
was
of
it for the meat?
Yeah, he sold it all for meat, but it was also one of those things like, hey, little Timmy's having a birthday party and we couldn't get the petting zoo from 3 counties over, so can you bring a couple emus and let them run around and let the kids chase them? And he's like, fuck yeah, $50, I'll do whatever you need me to. And so then all of a sudden he'll bring out a fucking bunch of emus on a rope and, chase them around your yard. And
wasn't that big money?
Yeah. It's always going to be a way.
While?
What's that?
Wasn't that big money for a little while?
Emu meat? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a couple emu farms. The only reason I knew more about this one is because I was related to it. Yeah. And, I had a direct line to the emu king of Rockingham County.
Goddamn!
I don't like to brag about the connections that stardom has got me.
Yeah.
But if you need a fucking petting zoo emu, I got you.
I want to hear the emu king of Rockingham County. That sounds like a dope song.
Oh, I'm already 2 verses in, man. I'll have that up on YouTube next week.
Are you generally inclined for this type of shit, in entertainment wise? I mean, like, I don't know, like train wreck type shit. Like, are you generally into that, or did this stand out for you otherwise?
Like when I think of train wreck shit, I think of like Springer and stuff. Like,
yeah, right.
This is just like a really intense 7-part Springer, because each one of those episodes was like, you know, the first episode's like, hey, married 2 straight guys so they can do meth and pet tigers. And the second one's like, oh God, did she kill her husband or not? And so it's like, it's literally like a marathon of Springers all put into one umbrella. I'm not a clickbait kind of guy where, you know, I'll watch it, but when you watch that trailer and you hear that guy be like, this is a fucking maniac in the middle of fucking bumfuck Oklahoma. Like, I was like, yeah, I'll give that at least 60 minutes of my time and see if I'm interested. And after you watch one episode, I know people who like turned it off 10 minutes in. They're like, this shit's not for me. This is ridiculous. But me, I was like, fuck, what? I got to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you
like? I didn't give a shit about him trying to kill somebody. It was the lead up to him trying to kill her that was the fucking story.
Yeah. Let me ask you a couple quick hitter questions where you stand on some of those things. What happened to Don Lewis, BJ?
Oh, he definitely got eaten by a tiger. Like he was covered in what
sardine
oil. Yeah. She covered him in sardine oil, drove his truck to the airport, fed him to a tiger, and nothing was left but tiger Trae.
All right. What happened to the TV studio?
The TV studio, he burned it down. I've got enough. I've got enough family members that have set fire to things for insurance purposes. I know a fucking arson when I see one. He definitely set fire to it because if he couldn't have that footage, nobody's gonna have that footage. So that is a Joe Exotic original.
Who's the biggest piece of shit in the documentary, in your opinion? Out of all of them, every character, which one's the biggest piece of shit?
Man, the Myrtle Beach guy. I didn't like him that much. He was a little too weird, and they're all fucking like when the most normal dude in the entire show is someone who openly admits to sawing off a federal agent's head on his property. Yeah. Like, and he said that like, yeah, I like butter in my mashed potatoes. Yeah. Like he said it so fucking nonchalant. Like when he is the center, when he's like the normal,
the straight man.
Yeah, like he was the one that I was like, man, he's like the most normal guy. And then you think back, it's like, oh wait, he served time for murdering people.
He's literally Scarface.
He's Scarface. They literally showed a clip of Scarface describing what he did to that federal agent.
It's based on him.
He cut off someone's head with a fucking circular saw.
Yeah, but also he got charged for it and he did his time. So, like, why would he feel bad about
it? That's the best part. Is like he came out on the other side of this, being like, "Yeah, I went to prison for 10 years, but now I own a shit ton of exotic cats."
Yes, you. I don't know, baby,
Joe Exotic's a pretty big piece of shit. Carol Baskins is basically running the exact same thing as Joe Exotic, only selling it as something different. So she's a giant bag of trash. Everybody's a fucking walking Mountain Dew ad, and I kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's what makes the whole thing work, you know.
So calling them pieces of I don't know. The guy in Myrtle Beach is the one that gave me he was kind of skivvy, you know. All
right. Last one, and then, well, other than any parting thoughts that you have after that, but like, what is it? Do you think is this allure of these goddamn tigers? Like the effect that these fucking big cats clearly have on people is like its own kind of drug, right? Like so many different people said they basically indentured themselves because they were like, well, yeah, but did you see the cats that I got to fuck with all day? Like, did you miss that? Because that was my payment. Like, what is that about?
Like that one dude who was just like, yeah, I go to Vegas and I get all the pussy because they want to pet cats. Yeah. And I'm like, never in my wildest dreams when I was going through in my early 20s, like, what can I do to impress this hot girl? Not once did I think, fuck, I got to find a tiger. Like
Yeah.
that's the only way I'm getting laid. If
Well,
I find
BJ, to be fair, you are a very talented guitar player and songwriter. That is like
Yeah.
having like that's why
Yeah.
these people get
But
tigers.
he's
They don't
making-
have talent.
He's making a valid point, though.
Yeah, but he didn't have to. You weren't as desperate as Jeff Lowe.
Okay, but if BJ had also had a tiger, my God.
Oh
Look,
my
can you
God!
even
We
imagine?
we wouldn't have him on this podcast right
No.
now. We'd be talking about how famous BJ is. We'd be like, you know who this reminds me of? My favorite singer songwriter in the world, Tiger Man BJ Barham.
Tiger Man BJ Barham.
yeah,
BJ Barham and Brothers Circus. That's what you could name your band.
well, it's one of those things. Like, don't get me wrong. I've done weird things to hang out with animals. Like there was this one time in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, these dudes come up to me after the show and they're like, "You want to go hang out with some alligators?" And I said, "Yeah." And so I swear to God, this is back in like drinking days. I got in the fucking car with these guys. We drove 2 hours outside of Baton Rouge. I didn't know these guys. The rest of the band stayed at the hotel. I got in a car with 5 strange dudes that I met at a show. I had to get in the car the next morning at 8 a.m. and drive to another gig. I got in the car, then went out in the middle of nowhere, fucking Louisiana. We got in a boat, drove about 4 miles up through the swamp, and we literally just were reaching our hand to the water and yanking alligators out and playing with them.
Well, was it worth it or what? Like, do you recommend it?
Totally fucking worth it. It was the
Did you end up-
it was the fucking raddest shit. And I looked at him, I was like, "Hey, you guys are fucking awesome."
Did you
But
end up
I don't-
marrying one of those dudes?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd suck his dick. To hang it.
You know?
Like if somebody was like, "Hey man, you want to go grab some gators?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's go grab some gators." Like,
Yeah.
"You suck my dick." So I was like, "Nah, I'm down for the gator grabbing, but I'm not really gonna play with your penis."
Well, thank God they didn't have tigers.
But to be
Yeah.
fair, nobody offered me blow and gator grabbing.
Right.
If it had been some form of upper and exotic animal,
Yeah. Like
You
say
know-
meth and tigers,
BJ,
for example.
With your quarantine stash, you kind of look like Travis. And I mean, he's he's a good looking dude. May he rest in peace.
I take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Well,
Did anybody else think he looked like Sturgill Simpson?
Yes,
I can see
called
that,
him.
yeah.
I called him Struggle Simpson on the thread.
It was like literally me and my wife like looked at each other like 4 episodes in, and she's like, "That kind of looks like Sturgill Simpson." I was like, "Very much so looks like Sturgill Simpson."
Well, buddy, before we have to sign off here, which we regrettably do, if you got any other last final parting thoughts for us, and also if you want to tell people what you got going on or what the how to find you and follow you and all that good shit.
Yeah, final thoughts. If anybody's watching or listening to this outside of the South, we're not all like this. Some of us are actually educated and well-spoken. We sound like fucking mutants, but we still are pretty we're able to put together sentences that make sense. We're not all animal abusing, gay, gun-toting polygamists. Some of us are, and
Yep.
some of those people get their shows. The rest of us just live our life like normal fucking human beings. If you want to find out about my music, American Aquarium is my band, AmericanAquarium.com. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I post ridiculous thoughts and pictures. So feel free to tune in or not. These guys vouch for me.
Very much so.
If you don't like my original songs, there's a bunch of Tiger King covers on my YouTube page. You'll dig those.
Fucking A, you will. Yeah, BJ's the shit. As always, thank
Thanks,
you so
BJ.
much, buddy. Hang in there.
Thank you guys so much, man. Y'all be safe, and I'll see y'all on the other side of this thing.
Right on,
Thanks,
dog.
BJ. Be safe,
Yeah.
brother.
Take care, guys.
Well, that's it for Tiger by the Tail, everybody. We really appreciate you guys sticking with us from beginning to the end. We've been really happy to produce this. Unfortunately, it took a quarantine for us to do it, so we hope that isn't the case again. But we did enjoy it, and we would like to continue doing more things like this for you guys. So sound off in the comment on something that you would like the Well Read Podcast to do a limited series on. Take care, stay safe, wash your hands, and stay inside if you can. Love you, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Well, Winwood, Oklahoma's where we meet our Tiger King. He's got them monkey chimps and tiger cubs, the cutest thing you've seen. He's got all his meth head buddies, and they're all working for free, serving cheap Totino's pizza covered in rotten Walmart meat. Then, of course, there's old Doc Antle. The Tigers made him rich. And don't forget about Carol Baskins. Man, we fucking hate that bitch. We got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail.